All right, so another tool in the toolbox, preparing. What great rainmakers do is prepare for meetings with prospective clients. Now, I have found that most people wing it, which is obviously not a good prescription for trying to impress clients. And what we have, and it's actually on the back of our business card, we have sort of a framework or a structure that we would suggest you use for undertaking preparation for a client meeting. So you want to do three things. First, you want to write down on a piece of paper what are the personal needs of whoever it is you've got the meeting with. And if it's 2 or 3 people, you want to write personal needs for each of those people. Personal needs, not organizational needs. So for example, if I have somebody in an organization that says they want to save legal fees, that's an organizational need. What's the personal need behind that? Things like, I want to look good to my boss. I want to stay under budget. I want to increase my compensation if I keep your fees down. Those are the things that you want to be writing down on your piece of paper. Then a little further down on your piece of paper, you want to write out probably at least 3 or 4 questions that you intend to ask. And the reason why this is critical is that most professionals left to their own devices in a meeting with a prospective client talk way too much. What you want to do when there's that pregnant pause, what do most of us do? We fill it with what? I'm talking about ourselves. What we want you to do is fill it with a question. So we want you to have at least 3 or 4 that you've written down as a result of all the prep that you did on the company and the person. A little further down on that piece of paper, we also want you to write out what's the advance. What's the next step you want to ask that person to take in building the relationship? And so, for example, if I were to call my friend Bill, my advance might be on the phone to get a meeting. You just got an advance. From that meeting, what's my next advance? Well, maybe it's another meeting with Bill, or maybe it's a meeting with Bill and somebody else in his organization. That's an advance. Or it's a meeting with Bill and somebody in my organization. Again, another form of an advance. What we find, though, is that rainmakers are very clear about outcomes that they want to see that allow them to have concrete evidence that they've moved to the next step in the relationship building process. For some of the clients we've worked with in Montreal, they like the term milestone. So if that works better for you than advance, that's fine. But the reality is, great rainmakers will always, before they head off to a meeting with a prospective client, ask themselves, what do I want in the way of an outcome? And what happens too often is that too many professionals think in terms of, I want the work. Well, that is a great outcome, but that's not an advance, that's not a milestone, that's the work. In reality, we're building relationships that usually sometimes take 2, 3, 4, 6 years. How do we know short term whether or not we've made any progress? The way we know is we get an advance. So those 3 things, personal needs, questions, and advances, if you'll do those 3 things in preparation for your meeting with a prospective client, you'll have far fewer random acts of lunch. I don't know if I need this. Well, I'll do it anyway. So another tool in the Rainmaker's toolbox is they really have a better sense, because they've done it so much, as to what clients need. So, and again, personal needs. So for example, here are some deciding factors on why you'll get hired in many cases. 1, you've given the client some control. Number 2, they have a desire to move up in the organization. They want to increase their power base within their organization. They'll hire you if they think they see a connection between your ability to allow them to do that and whatever services you're providing. They have a hunger to be understood. They want to save time. Most people are obviously, if I were to ask a typical audience, how many are interested in saving at least 5 hours of time per week? Bring it up with me in the coaching session. We'll talk about it, because in the file analysis, that's something that almost all of us seem to be starved for. Industry knowledge, looking good to the boss, having fun, respect, chemistry, avoiding surprises. Actually, avoiding surprises isn't one as to why you get hired. It's usually one that when you spring a surprise on a client, it's why you get fired. What I would suggest, though, is, again, having fun. A good example of that. I have a client, actually, she was a bond lawyer in Denver. And I found, she actually came to a session like this, and she found this very useful, and she took to heart the notion that she should ask clients where she wins business why we get hired, to refer back to an earlier tool. And so she asked one client, she was in a beauty contest with them, why she was hired. And she reports to me, she asked the client says, well, we really figured it was down to you and this other firm, and you were both equally capable, technically, but we figured you'd be more fun to work with. Fun is the deciding factor on why I got hired. She was shocked. So much so that she thought it was a bit of a fluke. So she actually tried, she had an opportunity to try it with a different client who she also got by way of a beauty contest. About a month later, she asks the same questions and she gets the same answer. What that taught her was that there's more to this than just our pure technical skills. And I am not going to say that your technical skills aren't important. They are very important, but they're the ante to get in the game. What's really critical is a lot of these other deciding factors as to why you'll get hired. Okay, all right, so another tool in the toolmaker's toolbox, and this is certainly an important one, is knowing how to ask for the business. What we found is that your best rainmakers just are naturally good at knowing how to ask for the business. For the rest of us, it seems to be this myth that somehow they magically were born this way. Well, the reality is they've probably, through the prospect or through trial and error, have actually gotten their face blooded a couple of times by people who they were trying to ultimately get work from. But here's a very comfortable way to approach it. You think in terms of not so much asking for work directly, but asking to continue the relationship. So I would say most rainmakers have probably heard more rejection than the rest of the firm combined has even made attempts at trying to get business. So from now on, when you're in a meeting and you feel like it's gone extremely well, you're pretty convinced that there's an opportunity to continue to get some work. Instead of asking, gee, can I have some work? You might try questions like this. Well, gee, what do you think the next step ought to be? Or where do we go from here? What should we do next? Or you could even ask, how can I help? What we found is our clients find that far more low-key and usually within their comfort zone. And what I would suggest is that if you ask those kinds of questions at the end of more of your meetings, you will get what we referred to earlier as an advance. You'll get a next step in the process that allows you to keep building the relationship. We had actually one of my clients was, before he was the managing partner of a law firm, large law firm in Australia, actually was general counsel. And he used to share with me that he'd take some comical delight in many of the people calling on him as general counsel, trying to get work. They'd meet with him for lunch, and they would never ask the questions I just shared with you. And he'd laugh, kind of after the fact, at the fact that they had no clue what they're doing. That probably describes a lot of us. And what I would suggest is very, very ineffective use of your time to be meeting with people and not at least asking for, what's the next step? Where do we go from here? Should I send you an engagement letter? There are a lot of different ways to do it. It's got to be done within your comfort zone. And what I have found is that everyone's comfort zone is very different. So what we're going to do as your coach is we're going to try and help you find a way to do this within your comfort zone and still make you more effective so that in the final analysis, you end up with more opportunities.